Right. Welcome back. So I feel it's been really lovely to have guest teachers, and we've really been expanding other experts that are also on their journey, right? With yoga, wellness, beauty now at this point.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Michelle.
Yeah. So I think I feel like the last few episodes made me really think about hustle culture, because with Emma, what stands out is the bug eyes, like the lizard eyes, right? Like, and not realizing that that's your pelvic floor, like connection and how much we're squeezing, right? And then it makes me think, why are we squeezing? Because we're stressed. Most likely because of hustle culture and why we have to hustle, right? And then same thing with Shell when she joined us and we spoke about beauty. And again, behind the scenes of beauty and behind the scenes of good skin and good hair and all these other things is reducing cortisol, adrenaline, which is what's coming from stress. So why are we stressed? So of course there could be different reasons, but I thought today let's definitely debate hustle culture. And there are two debates that I've seen. So, expand on this for sure as well. But the two debates is when you've got high responsibility, right? High responsibility could be that you are a senior manager, leader, business owner, parent, single parent. You've got these high levels of responsibility that don't allow you to rest, right? And then you've got actually people that used to perhaps have a lot of that. Maybe they were the single parent. Maybe they were in a high level job with a lot of stress. And they have now dropped it back to minimalistic and very simple. So there's this debate of rest. These high level, high responsibility, this high responsibility group, we're saying to them, rest for better productivity. And then there's a fight against that where the other group is saying, don't rest for just productivity, rest just to rest. Don't rest for an outcome. So maybe we could also, thinking about our old studio as well, type A personalities versus, I'm assuming type B personality. Like, I don't know what other, I already know, I only know type A. But let's say for argument's sake, type B, which are the ones that are saying, I'm not resting and slowing down to speed back up again. I'm literally slowing down to slow down. And I wanted to say that they're both valid, right? So yeah, let's talk more about hustle culture. And what have you seen? Like, what are you seeing in the debate?
With the hustle culture, I think a lot of it comes from, if it is the single parent or you're just trying to get so much done in a day. And we are maybe putting too much pressure on ourselves to get extra things done. Weekend comes where it used to be, okay, we'll have a chilled out Sunday afternoon. That was your rest. And it used to be quite a common thing. Sunday afternoons, we would all be, Sunday roast, feet up, TV, rest, you could call it. Where now I think people are but maybe do feel guilty for saying, oh, I didn't do anything. What do you mean you didn't do anything? It was the weekend. And there's this expectation that you should just keep on going.
Where is it coming from? Where do you think the expectation's coming from? And why are we not allowed to be lazy anymore? Well, lazy, and I'm saying
that's the thing. I think it is that word. People think that rest might be lazy. Well, actually, it's not. It's something the body needs in order to restore and actually to fill ourselves, to keep giving to others. And I think a lot of it maybe comes from social media, the pressures, because what we see in social media, it isn't real. We know that to get that perfect picture, you're taking 1,000 pictures and we go like, oh, isn't that great?
So you're constantly striving now.
Yeah. So, you're watching people go like, well, I went from here and then I got on the train, then I went to here and then I did this. And then you're like, wow, that's, crazy. But like, oh, well, I'm not really doing anything. Maybe I should be doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the flip side, it might just be that you need to keep going in order to pay bills.
Yeah, exactly that. And cost of living has gone up in general. And
totally.
And we talked about this last time, but we used to have more smaller villages and more, and we can talk 50 years ago, we can talk 100 years ago, we can talk since the beginning of time, like caveman time. But I think we did have smaller homes and smaller villages and smaller things have become high rise, right? Bigger houses. And again, social media is kind of reinforcing what people's houses could look like, right? Yeah. So you're just like, okay, well, that's not my house. So you're now striving for constant work, constant money, whether you're a single parent or you are in a high-end job or you're hustling for a high-end job.
Yeah.
For money, right? For money, for luxury.
And I think saying no has become a thing that isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the expectations. It's kind of, you do this for me, where before you kind of like, no, actually I can't. And we have to remember that no is a sentence. You don't have to give a reason why you can't do it. No.
Yeah.
Whether that's because, you know, we either want to impress within the workplace that we are, or because we fear that if we don't take on this extra responsibility, then it might be, well, actually, they're not a dedicated worker. There's somebody else that could take over.
It's the fear then, of course, getting replaced.
Because we're all replaceable.
Exactly that.
And
then it comes back to money as well. And that stress of paying bills and being able to, and it doesn't matter what your bills are. I think for what I say, it's not the income. It's your income to bill ratio. So you can be making $1,000 a month and be spending $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
you could be making $5,000 a month and spending $5,000 a month. But really, it's about that ratio of what's coming in, what's coming out, right?
Yeah. But I think there's so much more stimuli now as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember when I was a child, it was kind of like, off you go and play. And I had to use my imagination to go and play. I mean, kind of that's not like really rest, but if it's a bit like, we're going to do this, why don't you go and read a book? Well, that could be classed as rest because I'm not physically exerting myself. Where nowadays the mobile phone is always there.
And that is rest now, scrolling.
Exactly.
And in some ways, I get it. You know, if you're lying on a couch or a sofa reading a book or scrolling, in some ways it's you're lying and you're doing something. But the screen overstimulates us. That's the problem. Is actually we're not resting.
But then what are you scrolling at?
Exactly.
So if you're reading a book, you can get in, you know, if
it's knowledge.
You're getting into that adventure, you become that person. You're using your imagination.
It's so true.
You're moving all of your senses.
It's a different brain.
So that is you then in this fantasy world, whatever you're reading, and you're detaching yourself from all of these external stresses and strains. So it is kind of like a guided meditation that you're doing for yourself.
Yeah.
Where if I'm a doom scroller, I know it about myself.
Exactly.
I don't like it. I'll sit on there. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm just having a bit of a break, and I'm looking at social media,
and it's draining you rather than reading a book. It's actually draining
because now it is feeling this like, why are they doing all of this?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not jealousy perception. It's more of like, but these people are busy.
But it's human nature.
I'm just sat here.
It's human nature to feel like that. And I think we're most likely sitting and doom scrolling because there's no energy to do anything right now. That is our time to just, it's like we've output what we've needed to output and now we've just crashed. And that's where we're living. I mean, that's hustle culture in general, right?
Yeah. But I think that's how we are viewing our rest.
Yeah, exactly. It's crash.
It's not rest.
Crash. Yeah.
It's basically your head's still going.
Exactly that.
All the stresses are still there. Maybe they're amplified by what you're reading.
Exactly that.
Where if you can then detach yourself from that, then that becomes that rest.
Yeah.
Where you are lowering, you know, your cortisol. If you're reading something, you're getting stressed about it.
Yeah.
You know, you're still in this fight and flight, the same as overworking, overstimulation.
Exactly that.
Where if you can get engrossed in this book, have downtime, you know, a yoga nidra, go to a class where, you know, you're being told what to do, then that is your rest. Where, you know, your heart rate's going to lower. You're just going to get that away from, you know, the fight and flight, more towards the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's where your body, as we've spoken about before, even with Charlotte, your body starts to get that rest. That starts to healing process rather than just being on that constant
hamster wheel.
Flight. Yeah, and it is, you know, we are on it. We get up, eat, sleep, repeat.
It's so true. Eat, sleep, repeat. And I think that's the thing. We've identified this is the problem, right? So this is this hustle culture problem, whether, you know, whether we want it or we don't want it, we're in it, right? Whether we see it or we don't see it, we're in it. And now here's the thing. there are some people now from this category of hustle culture that have seen the hamster wheel and they are saying, no, not anymore. So they've actually come to teacher training and they've changed jobs, which ironically, yoga becomes a job and then you're hustling there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, some people don't, right? Some people actually do figure out whatever they want to do or however they want to do it. And they live a life of more rest, right? So now you've got this category of burnout, and some kind of something has happened where they're like, I don't want to be a part of that anymore. So now this is where the debate has come from is, I say that there's that category. Once you've understood that you're in hustle culture, you've got two things that come from there. I'm going to rest for better productivity. I'm going to rest and not produce, right? And so for me, I think that they're both valid because it depends on your individual journey. And if you've had a health scare, you don't want to rest to produce. You want to rest to conserve, right? And support your body and heal your body. And some may have also had a health scare, but they still need to work or they still need to do stuff, or maybe there's no other outlet. So actually, how do they create longevity? So a turtle has a higher life expectancy.
So random.
Right? No, but that's
turtle. Okay.
but that's actually, because that's what we in our teacher training, we talk about this. We talk about rest, and we actually bring it to like the animal world. And interestingly enough, a turtle conserves more energy, is slower to move, but has a longer life expectancy. So now I think that that's where these guys are coming from. The ones that rest for productivity. It's how do I get to the end of this career without quitting my job? Because I can't quit my job. So I need to stay in this job for 10 to 20 years, not particularly the same job, but the career or the field that they're in. So there's no option to go down this other route that some people, they just change jobs or they reduce their income or they reduce, they go more minimalistic, right? Some of us, maybe we decide that that's not for us. We just need to maintain our bills or our lifestyle. So I think that that's where the turtle analogy comes from, because now what you've got to do is you've got to slow down to go further because you've got no choice. You've got to stay earning for however long, for kids, for yourself, for, your mortgage or, whatever the reason is. So then it's that turtle analogy because you've got to go you've got to go for 10, 20 years, right? So I think that they're both valid. It just depends what resources you have. Do you have a partner or are you alone? Do you have children or you don't have children? What are your expenses? What can you do? Maybe it is open for all of us to minimize and reduce our spending, but sometimes that hits our self-worth as well. Like, what do I minimize to? Do you know?
Yeah, but I think it's also defining what is rest.
Yeah, exactly that.
Like we said, some rest can be just kind of like scrolling on your phone.
Yeah.
But it could be that if you are still in the job that you're in, actually making time, putting it in the diary. A lot of businesses now are very aware of, mental health and things like that. Exactly. So it just become a lot more acceptable.
It's so true.
To maybe say like, okay, I've got a meeting at 10 o'clock. Write it in your diary, block it out, go to a class.
Yeah, that's great.
Do that, everybody.
Everybody do this. No, but that's great though, because now we're bringing it to rituals. Now we're bringing it back rather than a routine. We're bringing it to rituals and more mindful for how we take care of ourselves.
And it's kind of, giving yourself that time where if you make it as important as a meeting.
Oh, I love that.
And then you give yourself, it's in my diary, I've blocked it out.
I love that.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've sat at your desk, you've got all things firing at you, you don't have that capacity to say no. And you're like, yeah, you just keep
I
on
love
taking
that.
more. And then you're burning out before you can get that rest.
And is that a practical strategy that you've used for yourself?
I know somebody or a couple of people have used it.
Okay.
They do have access to their own diary. And it's just a case of like, I can use my diary. They're not like not doing their work.
Yeah.
It just means that between the time of X and Y, whatever it is, I'm blocked out.
Yeah. And I think setting boundaries for people and not feeling guilty.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't feel guilty if someone like my mom needed something or a family member needed something and, I had like a really important work meeting, I know that they would understand. But if I was to say, I've got a meeting with myself to rest, it wouldn't be as understandable. But I can see that would be, you could kind of set a stronger boundary.
Yeah. And if it's in your diary, it's going to then a promise to yourself. Nobody knows what it is. I've got a meeting and nobody would question it.
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, it's meeting out. Go to your yoga practice, do whatever it is that you need to do, and then come back. You're a little bit more recharged. Hopefully, if it is out of the building, then you can move away from it. And then you come back to be back recharged. And that is that thing, resting to maybe be more productive.
Yeah.
So I think they can work a little side by side.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're giving yourself that time, say, actually, this is important to me.
Yeah.
And you're right, if, you've had a busy day and then you're like, right, I'm just going to go and lay upstairs for half an hour. It's a bit like, well, I'd like you to do this. It's a bit like, no, I want to rest for half an hour. It's like, well, that's just being really lazy.
Yeah.
Because that's just my perception of, I don't consider that self-care. Yeah. I'm a bit like, well, this needs doing, and you're just laying down.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to actually give us a little bit of background on this. And we talked about this as well when it came to, we've mentioned Yoga Nidra a couple of times. And Yoga Nidra is deep relaxation, 20 to 40 minutes, like a meditation, but lying down. You're kind of asleep, you're kind of not, you're listening to something guided, right? And we had said that 20 to 40 minutes of that could equal 2 to 4 hours of what a deep sleep could have done for us, right? And so it wasn't until I understood that and took time to understand the value of that, but then also try it myself.
Okay.
That I was like, whether first you start going to class and it's a guided meditation. Now it is a 20 to 40 minute nap. For me, it's a very, it's a productive nap, but it's amazing how much how much energy you have. So whether I give it back for productivity, whether I give it back to my family, whether I give it back to, eventually it goes back into the world anyway. Does that make sense? No, totally. And so it could be producing good pieces of work for my boss, or it could be deadlines, or it could just be quality of life, just enjoying dinner without trying to rush through dinner to get to bedtime for the kids. Do you know what I mean? It could just really make a difference between those two. Yeah. But you don't know it until you hear it, practice it, try it, and then say, actually, wow, this works.
I think the trying it does work.
Yeah.
And, now if somebody said, I just need this time, I just need half an hour just to myself.
Yeah.
I would see probably that very different. I just need to go and have a nap. And I think, maybe my mentality has changed because, it's not being lazy. We do need to have this downtime. Like you say, everything does go back out there, but ultimately also you're giving yourself that healing process, that slowing down process. Yeah.
And do you want to hear something even more amazing? They said, scientists, people, book writers, so everything that we do creates a byproduct. So you wake up in the morning and you make yourself some breakfast, and the byproduct are the dishes. So just living in general creates a byproduct. You wake up in the morning and you need the electricity, you need the water, and you've created a bill, right? An electricity bill, a water bill. Yeah. So everything creates a byproduct. So in the brain, we talk about, because I want to really connect it back to yoga, because this is real life stuff. And then why and how does yoga help, and why do we advocate for it? So so again, these people, whoever these people are, it's the brain, when it thinks, it creates a byproduct, right? So every thought creates a byproduct. So now think about overthinking, right? The stress. So that's actually where brain fog comes from. Because actually there's a lot of residue in our brain. So now how we think of detoxing in our body, especially with hot yoga, you go to hot yoga, you sweat the toxins out. Your body feels cleaner. So yoga nidra, meditation, deep rest, shavasana, the last few minutes at the end of class, or 1 minute when it comes to our power class. But what it does is it wakes up, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the lymphatic system. So think of Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, the chompers. Yeah. So when you enter meditation, shavasana, deep rest, what yoga has embedded in its practice, when you enter that, or even a nap, when you enter that, the lymphatic system wakes up. So the little Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, what they're doing is they're awake, and their job is to eat the residue.
Wow.
So when you wake up from the shavasana, the deep rest, the deep meditation, the mindfulness activity, whatever activity has brought you into downshifting and relaxation, that system has woken up and it's cleared out the residue from thinking.
Wow.
And so when you wake up, your brain is clearer. You can problem solve better. You're less irritated because you're not overstimulated. So that's like the science behind why it works.
That's great.
And why we advocate for it, why we want to practice it more than we do, why we encourage our listeners or yoga practitioners to also get to class. So now you do block that yoga class out. Now you do block that yoga nidra, that meditation, an online class, a YouTube channel class, whatever it is that you're blocking out, whether you can get to the studio or a studio or not, you're blocking out meditation, mindfulness, yoga, because now actually it cleans out. And this is then also that too much residue leads to dementia. It leads to memory issues. It leads to a lot of these other things that happen later on, which it's so empowering, right? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, it's not, let's slow down to produce more. Sure, produce more. Yeah. You've got your job for the long haul. You've got
future health.
But actually, it's your health, right? It's your quality of life.
I know, I'm a very visual person, right? So I'm going to be napping later and I'm going to see Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man go
well, that's what helped me, because I learned it first with digestion. Okay. I learned when you rest, or when you fast, sorry. So in fasting, when you don't put food into your mouth and you chew it, your body is ready to eat stuff up. But when you're not giving it food, it goes into, that's the fasting state. Yeah. There's words for it, but you can also see it in the keto diet. But basically your digestion is, the Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, the enzymes, the digestive enzymes, what they do is they start to eat the residue. So cancer cells, things like that, like free radicals. So you've got positive and negative cells coming together, but when they don't connect, it creates a little rebel cell. And the more rebel cells we have, the worse our health. So when you're fasting, it eats the rebel cells. So when I heard that for the brain, then I'm like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man is who I'm really thinking about.
I've got that arcade game going on in my head.
Exactly. So from here on out, we know that there's these little chompers that are there to help clean our system out, So I think that really helped us understand like what are our inner beliefs and what hustle, like why we get into hustle culture. Sometimes it's survival. Sometimes it's beliefs, not wanting to look a certain way. It's our self-worth, right? Then you've got 2 chains that come from that. Now they're starting to see the value of rest. Some need to do it to maintain their life. Yeah. Some do it because they don't want to even be on that hamster wheel anymore. But I do think that they're both valid. And connecting it to yoga, that's really what I wanted, is why go to the yoga practice? Why do the meditation? Why do the mindfulness? Because of Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, because we need to wake them up and we need to clean our heads. We need to clean our bodies.
Yeah. If only so simple. Put a Pac-Man in.
I know.
Yeah, but I do think it is as well that, it is that importance of giving back to ourselves, that time. And I think if you can move away to do it, even if you are stuck at the desk, we often speak about it, just having those stretches, getting rid of those shoulders that are kind of sticking to your ears, and just having an awareness, actually, how am I feeling? We've covered that with Shell as well. And it is that kind of just checking in during the day, because you just push through.
Yeah.
We've already said before, you're getting on that train, you're sitting at a desk all day, the body's not physically moving. Those feel-good hormones aren't moving around, everything's dormant.
Yeah, you're not producing any of the good stuff.
Yeah, you might be making bad choices then about your food intake.
Exactly, your food then.
And then it just comes all into that spiral. So although it is talking about the hustle culture, it'll always draw back, I think, to self-care.
Lovely.
And, within that yoga then, that practice, finding that connection back to you. And we can still be busy, but we still need that rest.
Yeah.
And making it a priority.
And individualizing it. Some bodies are naturally energetic and some aren't. And I think we don't realize that it's such an individual thing. So actually, you could be okay with 40% rest and 60% movement. Or it could be the stage of life that you're in, do you know? And sometimes it might be 40% movement and 60% rest. Now, how do we know that? We don't, right? That's always the question. But I think that that's what the yoga practices and the mindfulness practices do. It's the check-ins, the self-inquiry. How do I feel? So that you start to understand yourself more. And now, once you understand yourself, another decade comes and then you've got to relearn yourself.
Yeah.
But I think it really does make a difference when you're connected to yourself or understanding yourself.
I think sometimes it's also asking for help.
Oh, I love that as well.
We don't. There's lots of people I know that they've got 4 children that are holding down a full-time job.
Yeah, of course.
Partner's got a full-time job.
Yeah.
So child A's got to get to school. Child B can take themselves to school. C and D, that they've got to go to a different place. You're getting all the breakfasts done. You've gotten all the things looked out, the washing ready for school uniforms. It's keeps on going. And then they've got after school activities. You're driving from pillar to post. You're like, oh, I've just got to take them. I've just got to take them there. And you're like, wow, you're not actually stopping. But they probably don't even know that in this hustle culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is just, it's
you just have
the life
to do it
that has developed.
Exactly. And I think exactly what you're saying, asking for help. Now, easier said than done, because sometimes you feel like a burden. And that's why, again, inner beliefs. And I get it, because it's not that these inner beliefs have come out of nowhere. It's that we may have asked and no one's listened. It's made that we may have asked and we got a sigh, or, we felt a certain way. So there's a reason why we shut that down. But there are always people out there, like a puzzle piece, with your needs and their understanding. So I remember when I was pregnant with my second, my nausea was worse. Everything was a lot worse, because subsequent pregnancies, the older you get, it becomes worse. And it felt so debilitating. And I had a friend who her youngest and my eldest were the same age. So they were like 7, 8 at this time. Her youngest so now her youngest, meaning that she's got 2 children in school and she's in her 40s and she's come out of her 30s with young children. I'm in my 30s, and my eldest and my youngest, I'm pregnant now, right, with my second. And so she understood as a mother, like what that felt like. And so the trust and the safety to ask for help, or for her to just drop a lasagna at my door. Do you know, and it was so lovely to have that. And there were certain people that I could have asked, but I felt like I didn't feel safe to ask. But then I built the village that I needed to build. And I think that that's a good thing to add on for asking for help, because there are people that are actually in a good stage of their life that they want to help and they understand. And some people that are in survival themselves, so they can't help.
But I think sometimes as well, especially with minor out that other end now. They've left home. But, you know, sometimes it's like lifts. It could be a simple thing. It's kind of like, well, if I take your Billy Joe, do you mind bringing so-and-so home? It's like, oh yeah, that'd be so much easier for me as well. And all of a sudden you've helped yourself and someone else is going like, oh my God, I can't believe they've said that. That is amazing.
It is teamwork. It's coming together as a team.
Yeah.
And feeling like you can ask that.
Yeah.
But I think, again, going into what I really love about the yoga world or yoga studios is when you start seeing the community of wellness built and they start building relationships with one another. And then maybe they stick within the people they're meeting, or they've taken it into their homes and their own villages. Because I think it's the yoga and the slowing down and the coming away from hustle culture. I'm in it, right? I'm in it.
Say, when did you come away from it?
No. I'm in it. I'm in hustle culture, but I can see the two. I can drop out of it if it's really getting to a point. But either way, when I drop out of it and come back into it, I can see two different lenses now because of my yoga practice.
Yeah.
And building the safety and the community of a yoga studio and people that are also on the same journey. And then feeling like, oh, actually, I can trust people. Even if they're not doing yoga, I'm going to go out into my world where there aren't yoga practitioners and people, and I'm going to suss out where can I find my teamwork, or how can I now advocate for teamwork. So I think that that's what the yoga practice can do, is it teaches us the awareness, because these are all skills to survive the survival.
Yeah.
Right? So it's lovely that it's embedded. But I really wanted this episode to just allow both sides of the coin. If you're going to rest for productivity to speed back up again, to get the Pac-Man to work because you need, a clearer mind and problem solving, and you've got high responsibility, do that. If you're doing it because you're really tired of hustle culture and you're moving to India and you're going to, downsize and live in the mountains, do that.
Yeah.
But they both, you got to do what's right for you. Right?
But I think it's also being mindful that when you shift from this hustle culture and you're like, well, I'm going to kind of move down to slow pace, that it actually stays like that. Because it can be so easy then to start building back. It might not be the high power pressure. It might be a different sort of pressure.
I know, it comes back again.
In its this different form.
In a different form, exactly that.
So now we're kind of like, well, I've took time away from the work because I need to slow down. And it might just be that you just become so socially booked out.
Oh my gosh, that's such a true story.
It's still a hustle, isn't it?
That is such a true story, because you're still giving and not receiving.
You're still, in a way, to a degree, people pleasing.
Oh my gosh.
Because we're going from like, oh, I've got all this time. Oh, okay, can you do this for me? Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, so
people then have that more expectation because you've got this time. So you can lose one hustle to slow down, to actually then be exhausted
Lateral
in your slow
move.
down. Exactly. So, you could argue that the person then that is slowing down to be more productive is actually getting a better state of rest than the person that is slowing down to actually then
keep sacrificing and keep people pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I think here's something to drop this, and, another episode we can go deeper, or maybe with an expert as well. But there is a fear of slowing down. I do think that the world has designed itself to be fast because it does help us with not having to feel feelings. I think that is a thing, because when we slow down, feelings come up. And sometimes we are not equipped to deal with those emotions. And we've talked about it, I think, back in the first episodes about the discomfort of emotions, and maybe ancestrally or family culture push things under the rug. So we're not equipped really to deal with, emotions being okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be lazy. It's okay to be sitting down. It's okay to not know what to do. It's okay to be lost. It's okay, right? We didn't get those words, but we're so much more conscious now. There is a conscientious, mindset growing. And I do think it's also in line with the growth of yoga. I think yoga has grown since it was growing in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And maybe not in certain countries, but I know that it's grown incredibly in the United States.
Yeah.
And with the growth of yoga has come a lot of mindset growth and feelings growth, and maybe understanding that we don't know what to do with our feelings because maybe our ancestors didn't know what to do with those feelings.
Yeah, they've been suppressed.
Right? And now feelings are okay. Feelings are okay. They're encouraged. So much more posture care in schools.
Yeah.
So much more wellness at work. So I think we're at the best age to understand slowing down, and those feelings might rise up, but there's actually a lot that we can do with those feelings. And it does make us healthier individuals. So I wanted to really get that out there from the emotional wellness side of things. But I think that is a fear. Slowing down, stillness. What the heck is going to come up? I don't know if I'm ready for that.
No.
Do you know? And so that's just different aspects. Now, there's no right or wrong for today's podcast, but it's definitely just being aware of hustle culture and maybe the deeper reasons why they come. And maybe you're right. There is this like lateral move that you can do. But yeah, I just think that it's great to bring it up. I do think it's really valuable, right? For us to just be aware of blind spots. So anything else before we finish up and wrap up? Because I think that this has been, maybe some big light bulb moments for our listeners, hopefully, and for ourselves.
I think it's a nice place to leave it. But I do think, as always, any comments are always welcomed. Point of views, have you been in this hustle world? Have you moved down? Have you gone sideways move? Have you found that like really nice balance?
Yeah.
Because I'd love to know.
I know. Let us know. Thank you so much again for today. It was a lovely way to, I guess, talk about something that's real, right? Like something that's real, something that's really happening. And just because we teach it and we know it, again, doesn't mean that we're actually practicing it. But I think it's really great because it gives us a reinforcement on why we do what we do. So as always, lovely to see you, and more to come for our next episode.
Lovely. Thank you.